Hello, my name is Alejandro Salas, and this is a video of me going through the code for this week's project. And for this week's project, we had a choice of whether to implement a stack or a queue, and I decided to implement a queue for my project, and I'm using the standard library queue to show all the functionality that was required for this week's assignment. So to start, I'd like to label, and not label, but show the functionality that was required for this assignment. So we had to check if the data structure, in this case the queue, if it was empty, we needed to add values, remove values to that queue. We also needed to print the queue and update the queue. So to start off, this is my print function from the queue. As a parameter, it takes the queue that we were going to pass through it, and then it states that while a queue is not empty, we're going to show the front, and then we're going to pop the value. With the queue, the way the pop works is that it pops the front of the queue, so the last value that you inserted into the queue. Hence why it's a first in, first out kind of situation. So for my main, this is some variables that I needed to declare beforehand, and this is the creation of the queue that we're actually going to manipulate with the program. This is just the user interface, and going. This is checking if the queue is empty. So if the queue is not empty, we're going to see out the queue is not empty, and if it is, then it is empty. Okay, so adding values to the queue. This is where I do this, and so I ask the user to input some integers into the queue, and then they can enter 999 to quit. Um, so while the integer they want to add into the queue is not 999, then we're just going to push that into the queue. And then we're going to update the queue and then print out the queue. We're going to pass the queue that we just pushed in some variables into the function print queue, which is going to print it out. Moving on to the removing function. This function asks how many values they want to remove from the queue, and then for that amount of numbers, then it's going to actually pop a value from the queue and then print it out again. And then it's going to check one last time if the queue is empty, and it's going to ask if you still want to keep playing with the queue. And that's most of the code. I'm going to show now how this program works in action. So this is the program, and the first thing we need to do is add values to the queue. It's going to show that the queue is empty because we haven't added anything. So for the sake of this example, I'm just going to add the first 10 integers, and then I'm just going to quit with 999. So this is your updated queue as it shows. This is the numbers 1 through 10, and now it asks me how many values from the queue do I want to remove. So I'll remove the first 3. So I removed the first 3 because this is a queue, and since 1 was the first 1, 2, and 3 those were the first values to go into the queue, so these are the values that are going to leave the queue first. These are leaving the queue with the pop function that I showed earlier, and it's going to state if you want to keep playing with the queue. Just say yes, and then I'm going to add some other values. We took out last time 1, 2, 3, so this time I'm just going to add them back, and then exit with 999. So this is our updated queue. We can see that 1, 2, 3 has been added to the back of the queue, and now it is asking us how many values do we want to remove. So let's just stay with the 3 values that we added previously, and let's remove the first 7. So when we removed the first 7 with the pop function, we are now left with the values that we entered previously, which are 1, 2, 3. This is my program, and it goes over the functionalities that were required for this week's assignment. I hope everything makes sense. Queues and stacks are not really that difficult when compared to the other data structures that we've covered in this class. I just wanted to make a really simple program going over the functionality. Anyways, that's been my program and my code. Thank you so much for your time and attention.